The night before my stepson got married, he stammered and said to me, "Auntie, I know you've been worrying about me for more than 10 years, but for such a big event as marriage, I have to worship my mother's portrait." I thought to myself, sure, it's just a matter of adding one more photo, but just when I was about to cook him a midnight snack, he stopped me again. "Also, why don't you just not go tomorrow?" "All right, since no one is going, I can't give away the property certificate and 1 million in savings that I was planning to give away at the wedding." After the wedding banquet, my husband came home and got mad at me. "Jasper is getting married, and you didn't prepare any gifts." I nodded. "Yes, am not prepared at all." The water in the pot was boiling, bubbling with white steam, and the dumplings inside were rolling around. Tangyuan is my stepson Jasper's favorite. He has loved eating it since he was a child. 10 minutes ago, he told me with a smile that he wanted to eat the dumplings cooked by his aunt again before getting married. How could I refuse? Just as I was about to put the glutinous rice balls in the pot, he suddenly walked in with a serious look on his face. "Auntie, getting married is such a big deal. I want to worship my mother's portrait." Jasper's mother died of illness when he was 5 years old. Now, more than 10 years have passed, and he is still so filial. I was stunned for a moment, and an indescribable sadness surged in my heart. But in the end he nodded. "It's just one more photo, no big deal." Jasper didn't move. He lowered his head, looking as if he wanted to say something but hesitated, just like when he made a mistake as a child. "Auntie," he finally spoke. His voice was very soft, but a little strong. "Why don't you stay at home tomorrow?" My head was buzzing and I wondered if I had heard it wrong. The child whom I treated as my own son actually didn't let me attend his wedding. When I took the dumplings out, my husband Soren was the only one in the living room. He was sitting with his legs crossed, holding a remote control in his hand, switching TV channels absent-mindedly. "Where's Jasper?" I asked casually. "I went out with some friends. They were talking about having one last bachelorette party before the wedding." I said, "Oh," but my heart felt like it had fallen into an ice hole. There was a comedy on TV, but I couldn't laugh at all. And Soren seemed oblivious to my preoccupied look. Yes, in the past 15 years I have been running around for this family, and this humble and submissive attitude has long become a habit and natural in their eyes. I finally couldn't hold it in any longer and asked him, "Did you know that Jasper will be worshipping his mother's portrait at his wedding tomorrow?" I stared at him, trying to read something on his face. Soren's eyes flickered and he avoided my gaze. "Oh, he has no other thoughts. He is just afraid of outsiders gossiping." He coughed dryly, picked up the remote control and pretended to change the channel as if nothing had happened. "I'm afraid people will say that he has forgotten his biological mother because he has a stepmother. Jasper's consideration is not unreasonable. His mother passed away early. If outsiders say something about him, wouldn't that be like poking you in the back? Isn't that right? And that's just a formality. Doesn't mean anything. Jasper still recognizes you as his mother." I sneered in my heart. Jasper is afraid of this and that, but the last thing he's afraid of is people talking behind his back about his stepmother. "So, you already knew what he meant, but you never told me?" I asked word by word. Soren was stunned for a moment, then he stood up suddenly and threw the remote control hard on the sofa with a bang. "Lyra, stop looking for trouble. It's just a portrait. What's the big deal? Why are you arguing with a dead person?" My heart felt like it was pricked by a needle, and it hurt so much that I couldn't breathe. For 15 years I prided myself on being completely sincere to the father and son, but in the end I still ended up like this. The next day Soren got up at dawn. I could feel him moving around the room, and the rustling sounds were like tiny needles pricking my heart. After he had finished packing, he walked to the bed and said, "Lyra, I'm leaving. Is there anything else you want me to get?" I didn't respond. He side-turned and left the room. The door was closed gently and silence returned to the room. It was 9 o'clock before I mechanically got out of bed. Wash face, brush teeth, and clean. Every movement seemed like a programmed procedure, numb and empty. After cleaning the room I went downstairs. "Girl, are you going to buy some groceries?" My neighbor Sister Wang came towards me and greeted me warmly. I pulled the corner of my mouth and said, "Yeah, your son is getting married today. Why haven't you gone yet? It's a big day. You can't be late." Sister Wang asked with a puzzled look on her face. The smile on my face froze. "Sister Wang, I don't have a son." Sister Wang was stunned for a moment, then reacted and smiled awkwardly. "Look at my memory. I'm so sorry, sister. I remembered it wrong." I shook my head, said nothing, and continued walking forward. Jasper was 10 years old when we moved here. For the sake of my reputation and to make my relationship with Jasper closer, my parents asked Soren to talk to Jasper and let him call me Mom, but Jasper stubbornly refused. No matter what Soren said, he only wanted to call her Auntie. I naively thought at that time that he was just too young to accept me as his stepmother, so I comforted myself, it doesn't matter, time will prove everything. I will use my sincerity to impress him and make him accept me. But I have waited for more than 10 years and the name has never changed. The neighbors in the community gradually came to know that I was just a stepmother. It has been more than 10 years now. In fact, we all know in our hearts that my stepson probably doesn't even treat me as his mother. Especially since I didn't go to the wedding today, people in the neighborhood will soon be talking about it. They won't say behind my back that Jasper is an ungrateful person who can never be tamed. They will only say that I, as a stepmother, did not do a good enough job. In the past I would reflect on myself and try my best to find and fill in the gaps, but now I am tired. Soren came back carrying the food he had packed from the hotel. I only took a glance and knew they were some pastries and meat. Very good, these are all things that a patient with 3 highs cannot eat. He looked very bad and I guess he wanted to ask me where the wedding gift I had prepared was. Lyra, he finally couldn't help but speak, with a commanding tone. Didn't you say you prepared a gift for Jasper? I responded coldly. Gift? What gift? How can I give a gift if I didn't even go? You didn't even prepare any gift. Soren pointed at me and shook his head wildly in disappointment. But after a few seconds he probably realized that his attitude was bad and his expression suddenly improved. Well, Jasper has been like this since he was a child, stubborn and opinionated. You know that. However, he specifically told me about you at the wedding banquet today. I looked up at him waiting for his next words. He said. Soren paused, as if choosing his words. He said that he is very grateful for your care over the years, and that he and his daughter-in-law will be filial to you in the future. I said lightly and didn't say anything. Lyra, he walked up to me and put his soft hand on the rough back of my hand. Don't be angry. I've already apologized to you. We are an old married couple, so please don't hold on to this matter. Okay, look at me. I didn't even have a full meal at the wedding banquet. Heat up this dish and we can have a meal at home. Soren thought that if he gave me a step I would happily step down like before and then happily do what a stepmother should do. But this time I won't deceive myself like I did before. I pulled my hand back and threw the food he handed to me into the trash can at my feet, just like throwing away the relationship of more than 10 years without any hesitation. Don't you know, I have high blood sugar and high blood pressure, so I can't eat the things you brought back. You're right, we're already an old married couple. I won't beat around the bush. I really haven't prepared any gifts. Besides, I want to divorce you. Soren froze and blinked a few times as if he couldn't believe his ears. What did you say? He stammered. You want a divorce just for this little thing? I didn't say anything, got up and went to the bedroom to push out my old suitcase. It looks as good as new on the surface, but in fact the leather at the edges and corners is worn out, revealing the dark yellow sponge inside. Just like the family life that I have worked so hard to build over the past 15 years, it appears to be calm on the surface, but it is already rotten inside. Why are you so mad? It's just that Jasper worshipped his mother today. I've explained it to you, but you're still fussing about it. Soren said impatiently. Are you going to run away from home again? I looked in disbelief at my husband with whom I had slept for 15 years. He is a teacher and appears to be quite well-mannered, but why is he so cold to me? I couldn't hold it in any longer, and the grievances and anger that had been pent up in my heart for years erupted like a volcano. I have lived with you for 15 years and I only left your house once because I got angry, and that was 13 years ago. Have you forgotten why? And now you're saying that. Okay, Soren, let's part ways amicably. 13 years ago, when Jasper was just in elementary school, he got into a fight with his classmates at school. I rushed to the school to deal with it, fearing that he would get hurt, but he said in front of everyone that I was not his mother. I don't want you to come to school. I don't want you. I want my dad to come. You're not my mother. He kicked me and yelled at me in front of everyone. After I scolded him sternly, he cried heartbreakingly and yelled even more harshly. You are not my mother. Why do you say that to me? Why? Whoa. Soren arrived at the school. He beat up Jasper without saying a word. He admitted his mistake, but he cried even harder, so much so that my parents blamed me for not being a good stepmother and for disciplining him in public. This is what it's like to be a stepmother. If you take care of your child too much, people will say you don't care enough and don't treat him as your own child. If you don't care enough about him, He will say that you don't treat him as your own child and don't attach importance to his education. In short, it's always the stepmother's fault. After I got home from school that day, I ran away from home. I was unable to have children due to uterine surgery and wanted to live out my life alone. But I couldn't bear the worry and depression of my elderly parents, so I finally married Soren, a widower with a child. If my father had not been hospitalized and in critical condition, I would definitely not have returned to this home. Soren knew exactly how I treated Jasper, and the real reason why I ran away from home, but he still used it to blame me. He didn't think he was wrong at all, and he was still stiff-necked and swearing. Just go ahead. I'll see where you can go. My father died of a heart attack because I ran away from home, and my mother died of illness 3 years ago. Plus, I was an only child, so Soren was sure that I had nowhere to go. But having nowhere to go is better than being a nanny here. I dragged my heavy suitcase and knocked on the door of my old sister Gu Jixiao. After she introduced me to a lawyer, I returned home the next day. After the phone is fully charged, WeChat messages and incoming call notifications flood into my eyes. It's Soren and his relatives. Their tone changed from concern at the beginning to accusation later and finally to command. Soren's cousin, Lyra, have you had enough of making trouble? Go back now. Soren's cousin, sister, why are you running around outside when you're 50? Do you think you're 20 and you're running away from home? Aren't you afraid of getting into danger? It would be so troublesome if something happened. Soren's cousin, why don't you come back? You are Jasper's mother and the grandmother of Jasper's child. I'm afraid that when there is something wrong it's mom, and when there is nothing wrong it's aunt. I have devoted 15 years to this family, and the result is that anyone can criticize me. Want me to go back? How is that possible? I deleted all the messages and was about to turn off my phone when I saw a familiar profile picture. She is Jasper's aunt, taking advantage of the fact that Jasper's biological mother died early. This aunt is very harsh and rude to me. I hesitated for a moment but still clicked on the voice. Oh Sister Wu, just for such a small matter you even gave up your home. You are old and divorced. Who would want you? I advise you not to be so willful when you are old. Only my brother-in-law and his son can stand your temper. Her tone was full of sarcasm and disdain, as if I had a bad temper and needed Soren and his son's tolerance. I immediately sent a voice message. You think a soft persimmon is easy to squeeze, right? Do you think I don't know how many bad things you said about me to Jasper? Do you think I don't know how you taught Jasper to act good in front of me? I knew all this a long time ago, but Jasper's intimacy with me sometimes made me feel that he didn't really listen to his aunt, so I foolishly gave it to him for 15 years. If Jasper had continued to act at this wedding, I might have foolishly trusted him. What a pity. Aunt Jasper, you taught Jasper so many ways to please me, but why didn't you let him continue to act at the wedding? To tell you the truth, I even prepared the property certificate and $1 million change of name fee. But your nephew didn't want to act. What can I do? By the way, please tell Jasper that I can no longer invest in his hot pot restaurant. Jasper had always wanted to start a hot pot restaurant, and he had even chosen a location. At the time, I said I would invest 500,000 yuan to support him, but now, it's just a dream. It is not difficult to imagine that if the father and son knew that the wedding gift I prepared was a house and money, they would definitely slap their thighs. Sure enough, a few days later Soren condescended to come to my house and brought Jasper with him. He always knew that both of my houses in the south and north of the city were rented out, so he didn't know where I lived. I looked for all my relatives from my mother's side, but I wasn't there. So I went from the south to the north of the city, only to find out that the house in the north had been vacated long ago. Soren for half a month. He doesn't look very energetic. Without me ironing his clothes every day, his shirts were all wrinkled. The father and son stood awkwardly at the entrance. Seeing my cold attitude, Soren took the initiative to admit his mistake and apologize on behalf of Jasper. Lyra, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I didn't teach Jasper well. Don't be angry. It's not worth it to get yourself hurt. His tone was sincere and his face was full of guilt, as if he was really repenting for his educational mistakes. I didn't answer but just sat calmly on the sofa and picked vegetables. Jasper was silent for a while and finally raised his head, his eyes flickering, not daring to look directly at me. Auntie, I know my behavior was a little inappropriate. I have never been to college and I don't understand the ways of the world. I hope you can forgive me. Just like when he was a child, he lowered his head when admitting his mistake and didn't dare to look at me. But this statement is too clumsy. Jasper, you are still the same as when you were a kid. Your eyes moving from side to side when you lie. These words you said today were taught to you by your aunt, right? I said in a sharp tone, hitting his sore spot. Unexpectedly, Jasper's expression suddenly changed. Auntie, our business is our business. Don't bring my aunt into this. Look, don't excite him or he'll be exposed. Soren's face turned pale and he started to beat his son without saying a word, just like he had done many times before, just for show. He used the same trick again, thinking that I would persuade him, but I just continued to pick vegetables indifferently. Seeing that this plan failed, Soren started to appeal to my feelings again, crying and telling me about his miserable situation after I left home. For example, if no one cooks, he gets hungry and suffers from stomach problems. If no one washes his clothes, they get dirty, and students ask him what's wrong. I smiled and said, why not ask Jasper's aunt to do it? Isn't he doing this for the good of your family? Soren was speechless for a moment, and Jasper was completely enraged by what I said. From childhood to adulthood, in his heart, his aunt was the best person in the world to him, better than his father. What's wrong with you? He pointed at me and asked loudly. Don't I respect you? Hasn't my dad treated you well? You've been eating and drinking in my house for 15 years. Who has treated you badly? Now you can't save yourself, but you're taking it out on others. How interesting. I put down the vegetables in my hand, slowly raised my head, met Jasper's eyes full of resentment, and the smile on my lips became even more intense. Finally, you're not pretending anymore. Yes, I lived in your house for 15 years with food and drink, but how did I survive these 15 years? I quit my job in the system to pick you up from school, and in the end, I have to rely on your father for a living. I held out my hands and waved them in front of Soren and his son. These hands once had slender fingers and fair skin, but now they are covered with fine lines and calluses. This is the result of me running this family for 15 years. What about you? What about your father? Even my best friend knows, but her hands are not as messy as mine. When I went to Zixio's house that day, Zixia was so angry that he slammed the table after hearing what I said. I happened to see her white hands by chance, and I felt even worse. Her hands were as white and tender as Soren's, and you could tell at a glance that they had never done any rough work. My hands have become rough from years of doing housework. We are both 50-year-old women. Why am I living like this? But my husband and stepson showed no gratitude at all. Soren pursed his lips tightly, not daring to look at my hands. He turned his head away, avoiding my questioning gaze, feeling extremely guilty. Jasper was still stubborn. If it weren't for you, there would be other aunts who would marry my dad. Besides, since ancient times, men have been the breadwinners and women have been the homemakers. What you did is what you should have done. His tone was arrogant, as if women were supposed to be housewives. So, this is what your aunt taught you? I asked coldly. Then do you know that your aunt actually does nothing at home? It's all your cousin who does it. I treated you like my own son. When you were sick, I took care of you without taking off my clothes. Where was your aunt? She was playing mahjong outside. Your little cousin washed your uncle's clothes. Jasper was silent. He didn't dare look me in the eye because he knew that what I said was true. When I was educating him, his aunt found out and said that I was cruel and heartless, but she was not at all lenient when educating her own children. Your little cousin is now the top student in his high school. Your aunt is always showing off in front of your dad. Right. I told you to work hard to get a bachelor's degree, or at least a junior college. But you listened to her and said that you should make money early and enjoy life early. Haven't you thought carefully about how these logics are contradictory? When you are 30 years old and have accomplished nothing, and your wife and children have left you, she will say that I didn't push you hard enough. Right. Jasper blushed but still refused to admit that he had trusted the wrong person. I just thought that he had never been to college and his knowledge level was not up to par, but who knew that even his intelligence was not up to par? I feel disappointed when I think about how he pretended to be a good boy in front of me for more than 10 years. Disappointed in my own stupidity. I don't want to have any more nonsense with you two. Just tell me how much I have taken from you over the past 15 years, and I will give it all back to you. But we must get a divorce. Soren frowned, looking worried. He opened his mouth and pretended to kneel down to apologize to me, but was forced back by Jasper's words. You want to settle the accounts, right? Okay, you have to share these 2 houses and savings with my dad. These are the marital property between you and my dad. I took a deep breath and felt a chill running from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. So you were waiting for me here. I stood up, looked at my stepson and said word by word. I taught you to study hard since you were young, but you didn't listen. Now you're suffering from your lack of education. Right. Do you know what a will is? The corner of my mouth curled up in a sarcastic arc. Jasper doesn't understand, but Soren definitely does. With two outsiders as witnesses. My mother clearly stated in her will that her inheritance after her death would belong only to me as my personal property, and would have nothing to do with my husband and stepson. She also had the will notarized. As soon as she dies, the will becomes legally effective. These are the ways out she left for me. Some people are very good at disguising themselves. You won't know whether they are human or evil until time passes and they fall out with each other. Soren's guilty expression suddenly changed. Did your mother get a notarization before she left? When she found out about my family's situation, she advised me not to get divorced as we were both 50 years old. She also said that Soren still had feelings for me, and would definitely not covet my family's property. I also hope to know that what I said is right, but the reality is cruel, isn't it? But I clearly remember that before I married Soren 15 years ago, he was very obedient to me. He even thanked me for my kindness and generosity with tears in his eyes and promised not to covet a penny from my family. When did it change? I can't remember. Maybe it changed when I compromised and married him because of my aging parents. I stood up, walked to the door, opened it, and saw the guest off. Yeah. Do you think my parents are particularly optimistic about you? And think they definitely approve of you 100? So you treat me like a free babysitter. My dad did have high hopes for Soren, but that was just my dad's idea. He passed away early, and my mom was the final decision maker. Before she left, she told me that she felt her stepson was an ungrateful person, and she was worried that Jasper would not support me, so she did the notarization. The funny thing is that I thought she was just imagining things at the time, but it turns out she was right. Soren and Jasper walked out of the door in despair. Before leaving, Soren said, "Your parents are so cruel, and it's been 15 years, and we've had feelings for each other. But you turned against them so suddenly. How cruel." Even now, he still wants to push the blame onto me. He is hopeless. I received Soren's divorce consent. I was walking slowly on the Great Wall alone. I walk step by step, and when I feel tired, I just think of it as walking away the grievances I suffered in the past. When I have walked away, the grievances will be gone. In fact, I don't have to travel thousands of miles to come to the Great Wall, but this place is very meaningful. Jasper was a child. He always talked in his sleep. What he talked about most was that he wanted to visit the Great Wall and see the beautiful mountains and rivers of the motherland. Because Soren is lazy and doesn't like to move, I told Jasper that Auntie will take you there. Jasper always happily responded to me, "Okay, thank you, Auntie, but this plan has not been completed yet. I can go at any time," but Jasper always has various reasons to refuse. When I arrived at the Great Wall alone and saw groups of families taking happy photos with friends, I finally understood that there were not so many reasons not to come, they just didn't want to come with me. I took a photo of the Great Wall and posted it on WeChat Moments. "You can come alone." Young man about Jasper's age came up behind me and saw that I was alone, so he wanted to take a photo for me. The young man was very enthusiastic. He had a different personality from Jasper, generous and cheerful, and very serious. He guided me on my positioning while taking pictures. "Auntie, your red dress looks really nice. It sets off your complexion really well." I looked down at the red dress I was wearing. It was the divorce gift I bought for myself. I used to dress very simply because Soren didn't like me to dress too flashy. He said when you get older it doesn't look good to wear fancy clothes. Thinking about it now, it's really ridiculous. Why should I live my life in his eyes? He has never regarded me as a family member. With a click, the young man finished taking the photo. Although my hair in the photo is gray, and my face has wrinkles, my eyes are still shining with a long-lost light. That's freedom. The young man asked me curiously, "Auntie, your accent doesn't sound like you're from Beijing. Why are you visiting the Great Wall alone? Aren't your family members with you?" I put away my phone and responded openly, "I don't have any family." The young man was stunned for a moment, as if he was very worried about my mental state. He ignored the calls of his family in the distance, left them and walked straight to my side, chatting with me in a casual manner. "Auntie, look at the Great Wall. So majestic. If you are happy, your family in heaven will be happy too." He comforted me. His tone was quite serious yet a bit childish. I knew he had misunderstood, so I hurried to explain. "It's true that my parents are dead, but I don't have a husband or children." He opened his mouth in surprise. "Auntie, you are so brave. You are a role model for us." Seeing my puzzled expression, the young man explained to me, "There is so much pressure in society now that many people can't even take care of themselves. They have mortgages, car loans, and renovation loans. They are married and have children. What if the children suffer? I never thought about what he said because I am not short of money. After my parents passed away, they left behind 2 houses and some savings. The interest from the bank alone makes 4,000 yuan a month, which is enough for us to get by. I don't have any material pressure, but I have more psychological pressure after getting married. I sighed, collected my thoughts, and continued walking forward, asking as I walked, then aren't you young people afraid of being lonely when you get old? Aren't you afraid of dying alone at home when you're old and no one noticing? Auntie, there's a quote on the internet that I think is really good. So what if you find out, can you be resurrected? Speaking of loneliness, who isn't lonely? Loneliness is the norm. No one is an exception. I paused for a moment and stopped for a while. It is said that young people nowadays are more open-minded, and it is true. As I was watching the increasingly beautiful sunset, my cell phone beeped. We can divorce. I have given you an average of 2,000 yuan a month for living expenses over the past 15 years. If you give me 400,000 yuan, I will accept the divorce. 400,000. Wishful thinking. I immediately contacted Wei Lan, the lawyer introduced to me by Ji Xiao, and promised to give her 200,000 yuan to help me handle the divorce case. I have only one goal: to make sure Soren doesn't get a penny. What kind of settlement? It's just the bait I threw out. I haven't even divided up his property and he still wants a share of my money. Less than half a month later, Soren contacted me and asked me to sign the agreement quickly. He said he didn't want any money. I held the phone in my hand and couldn't believe my ears. Could it be that after 15 years of living together, he finally had a change of heart and would rather leave the house with nothing? I immediately contacted attorney Wei Lan. Wei Lan told me that she found evidence that Soren had accepted gifts from students' parents over the years, as well as some clues of illegal operations. I told Soren that if these things got to the Education Bureau, he would probably have to drink a lot of wine. I was stunned. I didn't expect Wei Lan to act so quickly and with such swift and decisive methods. I originally wanted to use this evidence to make him pay for his words and actions, but I didn't expect him to be so impatient that he actually offered to leave the house and try to shut me up. There was a hint of regret in Wei Lan's tone, but more of it was gratitude towards me. This is the best outcome for you now. You can leave the Jia family without any loss and start a new life. I held the phone in my hand, my eyes gradually becoming moist. Yes, outsiders would think that there is no loss, but how can there be no losses? My 15 years of youth, 15 years of dedication, and 15 years of sincerity were just thrown away by Soren and his son. I could have been free and easy, but I was imprisoned in the Jiao family for so many years, serving the father and son like a free nanny. I did their laundry, cooked for them, and took care of their daily lives without even a penny of salary. I used my own savings to supplement the family income, and still have to look at their faces and listen to their sarcasm. Aren't these losses? After hanging up the phone, I looked at the fiery red sunset in the distance, feeling mixed emotions. 15 years of marriage came to an end. Although it cannot be called perfect, I am finally liberated. I am only 50 years old this year. Although my body is not as strong as when I was young, I am more than capable of taking care of myself. Once I was freed, I thought I would be greeted by a new life. Unexpectedly, there were so many evil spirits coming one after another. After my parents passed away one after another, only my cousin was left on my side. But they never asked how I had been doing in the Jiao family over the years. I don't know how the news of my divorce reached their ears, and my cousin actually pulled me into the Wu family group. Looking at the lively welcome in the group, I couldn't describe the feeling in my heart. I left the group chat and my cousin immediately sent me a private message. Aunt, you are already this old, without any children. Who will take care of you in the future? Just stay at home and I will support you. He has a good plan. I ignored him, and then the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, a man in a suit stood at the door with a big smile on his face. Hello, is this MS? I'm from Ijia Real Estate. I saw you listed your property for sale online, so I came here to learn more about it. I nodded. Yes, I want to sell both houses. When the agent heard this, his eyes lit up and he enthusiastically handed over his business card. Don't worry. Our company is the most professional in the industry, and we guarantee that we can help you sell your house as quickly as possible. I listened in a disjointed manner, but in my mind I began to wonder where to buy a new house. Knowing my plan, he advised me not to sell the house, but my headache started when I thought about what might happen if someone entangled me in the future. It just so happens that I want to do my own thing, and am short of money, so I might as well sell the house, get away from the past world, and live for myself again. A year later, I rented a storefront in front of a primary school in the city center. The decoration is warm and the bookshelves are neatly arranged. It is a bookstore. The sunlight shines through the glass windows onto the wooden bookshelves, and the air is filled with the faint scent of books. Since I don't have any children, I treat those students as my own children. I quit my teaching job early, and hope to open a bookstore next to this school to make up for the regret of not being able to see the children grow up healthily. Seeing them come to the store to read books after school every day is the happiest thing for me. Hello, Grandma. Grandma, do you still have this copy of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? Grandma, I want a copy of How the Steel Was Tempered. These flowers of the motherland are more polite and well-educated than each other. Looking at their eager eyes, I seem to see my own childhood. At that time, I also liked to spend an entire afternoon in the bookstore immersed in the ocean of knowledge, and dreamed of visiting the world of books when I grew up. But he was obsessed with work when he was young, and was later forced to get married. When he was in the Jia family, he took care of the housework, so he had no time to fulfill his ideals. Now that I live alone, although the rest of my life is not enough for me to explore the outside world, my little world is more interesting. Here at least I don't have to look at people's faces anymore. When Gigi came, I was sitting alone in the store reading a book. She teaches at a nearby elementary school in the city center, and comes to my shop to sit for a while after get off work every day. Lyra, it's been a month since we opened the store. How do you feel? It's fine. I looked at the students and parents hurrying by outside, and a smile appeared on my face unconsciously. You're wearing reading glasses now, but you're still fine. Ji Xiao, who was sitting next to me, said half jokingly and half seriously, I think you should go to a nursing home and play bridge with the old ladies. As long as you have money, the caregivers will never make things difficult for you. What are you doing now? I couldn't help but laugh looking at her through the gap in my reading glasses. My eyesight is not good, but my mind is still good. I have never felt so energetic. I feel like I am still 35. It's nice to have some fun. Ji Xiao looked at me with a hint of confusion in his eyes, but in the end he said nothing. I know she doesn't understand why I want to open a bookstore at this age, and she doesn't understand why I didn't find another man after the divorce. In their eyes, I am just a poor 50-year-old woman without children. They thought I should be like most divorced women, either finding an honest man to be with or living the rest of my life peacefully in a nursing home. But they don't know that my life may have just begun. After Gigi left, I closed the store, returned to the community next to the school, cooked my favorite meals, and then went downstairs to Dance Square Dance. I bought a house next to this primary school, and no one except me knows that I live here. At the end of a fulfilling day, I fell asleep in 3 minutes when I lay in bed. After the divorce, even my sleep improved. I didn't expect to see Wei Lan again. She showed up in my bookstore to buy books, holding her daughter's hand and with a gentle smile on her face. It was a book called 100 Years of Solitude. Why did you suddenly think of buying this book? I was a little curious. This heavy literary work didn't seem quite suitable for an elementary school student. Wei Lan smiled and handed me the book to pay for it. I want to buy it for my daughter. I was stunned for a moment, then I understood what she meant. Her daughter is also an only child. Wei Lan helped me tidy up the bookshelf. Seeing me busy and energetic, she gave me a thumbs up. Auntie, you are very brave and free. You understand better than anyone that loneliness is not terrible. Yes, in the year after my divorce, I lived alone and felt lonely, but more importantly, I felt more relaxed and comfortable than ever before. Have you ever regretted it? Wei Lan suddenly stared at me with burning eyes. I knew what she meant. No regrets, I answered without hesitation. Look at me now. How comfortable I am. Wei Lan smiled with a blessing smile in the corners of his eyes and eyebrows. By the way, there's something you should know. She suddenly lowered her voice, with a mysterious tone. Soren, he's in trouble. One of his big-mouthed relatives let slip when he was playing mahjong outside that he accepted bribes and arranged for his students to be in the elite class. As a result, a kind-hearted parent reported it, and he is now under investigation. I sneered without any sympathy in my heart, just indifference. I knew this a long time ago. The loudmouthed relative is Jasper's aunt. Soren called me a lot recently to apologize and specifically mention this matter. Lyra, we all misjudged Jasper's aunt. We misunderstood you. Please stop being angry. Okay, Jasper also knows he was wrong. Please give us two a chance to take care of you. Okay, he still thought I was as easy to fool as before and wanted me to go back by finding some excuse. But I know very well that he is so humble now only because he found out that I always used my own money to subsidize the family expenses, and he alone cannot afford the high living expenses of his family. Later, he finally found out that I had sold both houses and knew my determination. He became as anxious as a headless fly and was so annoyed that I even changed my phone card. However, Jasper posted a rare photo of his group visiting the Great Wall in his circle of friends. Look, this family is always like this. They say they apologize, but their actions are always contradictory. However, good and evil will eventually be rewarded. It's not that there is no reward. It's just that the time has not come yet. Why are you so concerned about his family? I looked at Wei Lan and couldn't help asking. Wei Lan smiled awkwardly. I don't know. Maybe because I helped you deal with their family's affairs. I paid special attention to the retribution they received later. I nodded and didn't ask any more questions. 10 minutes ago, he told me with a smile that he wanted to eat the dumplings cooked by his aunt again before getting married. How could I refuse? Wei Lan was silent for a moment with a complex emotion flashing in his eyes. To be honest, I only want this one child. I want her to understand that loneliness is not scary. Yes, it is said in 100 Years of Solitude that life will never exist alone without loneliness. Loneliness is like a shadow and has long become a part of life. Loneliness is not scary. The scary thing is that you chose a path that made you think you would no longer be lonely, but in the end you discovered that you are lonelier than anyone else. Before Wei Lan left, she suggested that I hire a worker to take care of me when I was not in good spirits. I am old and she is afraid that something might happen to me in the store, and no one would know about it. However, I just remembered what the young man who took photos for me said when I was visiting the Great Wall. So what if someone takes care of me? Can I recover or be resurrected? There is not much time left in life, so why not throw away all the burdens and enjoy freedom with peace of mind? As for the rest, leave it to time.